For Peter Parker, losing his secret identity does not simply mean being recognized without his mask. It means placing Aunt May, Mary Jane, and everyone he loves directly in the sights of his enemies. And some villains did terrible things after discovering that the seemingly ordinary young man standing in front of them was actually Spider-Man. Before we begin, leave a like to support the channel and join the conversation in the comments. I love reading your messages, exchanging ideas about these stories, and responding to our community whenever I can. Let's continue building our nerd community together. So leave a suggestion for the next video. And now let's begin. Morlun. In The Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 2, Issues 30 through 35, Morlun arrived in New York to hunt Peter Parker. As a creature capable of sensing and consuming the energy of totemic beings, he did not need to remove Peter's mask or search through documents. Morlun sensed Peter's connection to the spider and began hunting him like prey, attacking him both as Spider-Man and during his civilian life. The villain was so powerful that Peter could not cause any meaningful damage to him. Morlun continued moving forward after receiving attacks that would have defeated almost any ordinary enemy. Peter only managed to stop him after realizing that Morlun could absorb his totemic energy, but could not tolerate the radiation inside his blood. The story became even more brutal when Morlun returned during the other. He beat Peter nearly to death, tore out one of his eyes, and began feeding on his body. For Morlun, discovering Spider-Man's secret identity was not useful for blackmail. It meant knowing exactly where to find the creature he wanted to devour. Prowler. In The Amazing Spider-Man number 87, Peter believed he was seriously ill and revealed to his friends that he was Spider-Man. When he discovered that he had made an enormous mistake, he contacted Hobie Brown, the former Prowler. Peter told him the truth and asked him to wear the Spider-Man costume. Hobie then appeared as Spider-Man while Peter stood beside him, convincing everyone that Peter's confession had only been a joke. Prowler began as a criminal who used advanced equipment to commit robberies. After being defeated by Spider-Man, however, Hobie reconsidered his decisions and eventually began helping the hero. That change allowed Peter to trust him at a moment when his identity and the safety of his friends were both in danger. This is the most unusual example on the list. Hobie did not steal the secret, follow Peter, or attempt to use the information against him. Although he began as an enemy, Peter willingly trusted him with one of the most dangerous secrets in the Marvel Universe, and Hobie helped protect it. Peter believed that something good still existed inside Prowler, and he was right. Kingpin. In The Amazing Spider-Man number 533, during Civil War, Peter Parker removed his mask in front of the cameras and revealed his identity to the entire world. Wilson Fisk did not need to investigate the hero. Even from inside prison, Kingpin watched the broadcast and discovered that the man who had repeatedly interfered with his criminal operations was a young man with a completely vulnerable family. Fisk used his connections to hire an assassin. In The Amazing Spider-Man number 538, the bullet intended for Peter struck Aunt May, leaving her between life and death. The public revelation turned everyone close to Spider-Man into a potential target and eventually caused Peter to wear his black costume again. During Back in Black, Peter entered the prison and brutally beat Kingpin in front of the other inmates. He explained that he could fill Fisk's lungs with webbing and kill him within seconds. Instead, Peter allowed him to live with the humiliation of his defeat. Kingpin did not uncover the secret by himself, but he became one of the first villains to demonstrate exactly why Peter should never have revealed his face to the world. Alistair Smythe. In Superior Spider-Man number 13, Alistair Smythe was awaiting execution when he used miniature spider slayers to escape. At the time, Otto Octavius was controlling Peter Parker's body. After preventing Smythe from transferring his mind into another body, Otto decided to reveal that the man beneath the mask was not truly Peter. It was Dr. Octopus. Smythe immediately understood that the body still belonged to Peter Parker. Before dying, he used his connection to the Spider Slayers to locate Aunt May, Mary Jane, and other people close to the hero. His plan was to attack all of them simultaneously and force Otto to abandon the prison to save them. However, Otto had already anticipated that reaction and prepared defenses for every possible target. The most fascinating detail is that Smythe discovered an even greater secret than Spider-Man's identity. He realized that one of Peter's greatest enemies had stolen his body. Smythe died knowing a truth that even the hero's closest friends had failed to notice. Chameleon. In the spectacular Spider-Man numbers 242 and 243, Chameleon created a trap involving Peter Parker's supposed parents. While carrying out his plan and assuming several different identities, he gathered enough evidence to confirm that Peter Parker and Spider-Man were the same person. Dmitry Smerdyakov did not possess Venom's strength or Dr. Octopus technology. His greatest weapon was his ability to assume the appearance of almost anyone. After learning Peter's secret, he could use the faces of people Peter trusted to enter his home, manipulate his friends, and attack his family. When Chameleon threatened to reveal the truth to the world, he expected to regain control of the situation. However, Peter was so furious about everything that had happened that he claimed he no longer cared. That reaction destroyed the villain's psychological advantage. Chameleon finally possessed Spider-Man's greatest secret, but discovered that the information was useless as a threat if Peter was no longer afraid of losing it. Jackal. In the Amazing Spider-Man numbers 148 and 149, Jackal revealed that he knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man and presented his most disturbing experiment. Miles Warren had acquired genetic samples from Peter and Gwen Stacy and used them to create clones. Obsessed with Gwen, he blamed Spider-Man for her death and wanted to force him to experience that tragedy again. Jackal did not simply use the secret to attack Peter's family. He transformed the hero's genetic material into a weapon, creating a duplicate with the same powers and memories. Peter was forced to fight a man who also believed that he was the real Spider-Man. The experiment created Ben Reilly and became the foundation of the long-running clone saga. During part of that story, Peter was manipulated into believing that he might be the clone, and that Ben was the original man who had been bitten by the spider. Jackal did not only attempt to destroy Peter's life, he made the hero question whether that life had ever truly belonged to him. Harry Osborn. In the Amazing Spider-Man number 136, Harry Osborn found a Spider-Man costume hidden inside Peter Parker's apartment. He had already discovered that his father, Norman Osborn, was the Green Goblin. After finding the costume, Harry realized that his best friend was also the hero he blamed for Norman's death. Emotionally devastated and struggling with drug addiction, Harry took his father's equipment and became the new Green Goblin. Unlike an ordinary criminal, he knew Peter's routines, relationships, and insecurities. The two had shared the same home, the same friends, and some of the most difficult moments of their lives. Harry could attack Peter in ways no stranger ever could. Even so, his love for his friend never completely disappeared. Years later, during his final confrontation with Peter, Harry had the opportunity to leave him inside a building that was about to explode. Instead, he returned, rescued Peter, and died shortly afterward. The secret created a war between them, but it could not completely erase the friendship that existed before it. Venom. In the Amazing Spider-Man number 258, Reed Richards discovered that Peter's black costume was an alien organism and helped separate it from his body. However, while the symbiote remained bonded to Peter, it gained access to Spider-Man's thoughts, memories, and secret identity. It later found Eddie Brock and shared everything it knew with him. Eddie also hated the hero. His career as a journalist was destroyed after he published the confession of a man claiming to be the Sin Eater. When Spider-Man captured the real killer, Eddie was publicly humiliated. The combination of Eddie's resentment and the symbiote's feelings of rejection created Venom, who made his full debut in the Amazing Spider-Man number 300. Venom knew where Peter lived, understood his habits, and recognized the people he loved. The symbiote also failed to trigger Peter's spider sense, allowing Eddie to approach him without being detected. During one of Venom's earliest appearances, he entered Peter's apartment and terrorized Mary Jane. At that moment, Spider-Man understood that his identity had fallen into the hands of someone capable of bypassing almost every one of his defenses. Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus' discovery began in the Amazing Spider-Man number 698 and was completed in issue 700. Close to death, Otto Octavius used an Octobot to exchange minds with Peter Parker. When he awakened inside the hero's body, Otto gained access to Peter's identity, powers, and many of his memories. Peter became trapped inside Otto's dying body and desperately attempted to recover his life. His plan failed, but before dying, he forced Octavius to experience some of his most important memories and understand why Spider-Man continued fighting. Otto decided to honor that responsibility and prove that he could become an even better hero, adopting the name Superior Spider-Man. Dr. Octopus did not simply discover his enemy's name. He stole Peter's body, lived among his friends, managed his company, and attempted to build a relationship with Mary Jane. Peter remained for some time as a hidden presence inside Otto's mind, watching the villain control his life without being able to stop him. No other enemy came so close to erasing Peter Parker and completely replacing him. Green Goblin. In The Amazing Spider-Man number 39, Norman Osborn developed a gas capable of weakening Spider-Man's spider sense. After exposing the hero to the substance, Green Goblin followed him without being detected. Norman watched Spider-Man enter his home and remove his mask, discovering that his greatest enemy was Peter Parker, his son's best friend. Norman captured Peter and revealed that he was the Green Goblin. Their confrontation ended when Osborn suffered an electrical accident that temporarily erased his memories of being a villain. Peter decided to hide the truth in order to protect Harry. However, whenever Norman's memories returned, his knowledge of Spider-Man's secret identity returned with them. In The Amazing Spider-Man numbers 121 and 122, Norman used that knowledge to hurt Peter in the most devastating way possible. He kidnapped Gwen Stacy and caused her death at the George Washington Bridge. Green Goblin takes the number 1 position because he was one of the first enemies to independently uncover Spider-Man's identity, and he transformed that secret into one of the greatest tragedies in comic book history. Peter's mask never protected only his face. It protected every person who was part of his life. When these villains discovered the truth, the battle stopped being only between Spider-Man and his enemies. Aunt May was shot, Gwen Stacy lost her life, and Peter even had his own body stolen. But which discovery caused the most devastating consequences? And which other villain deserve a place on this list? Leave your opinion in the comments. I genuinely love reading your messages, responding to you, and following the discussions within our community. Your kind messages and the ideas we exchange make all of this work worthwhile. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to Nerd Society to continue discovering hidden stories from the Marvel and DC universes.